Right, back live with you tonight on In Focus, and thanks for staying on. Officers are living in fear following recent attacks on police stations. Statistics show that 13 police stations were burgled between April 2018 and March 2021, and 78 firearms and 982 rounds of ammunition stolen. South African Policing Union spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale joins us now for more. Lesiba, good evening, and thank you very much for coming on tonight here on In Focus. I see in this report a clinical psychologist in the Western Cape saying that some of the most traumatized patients that they've treated in recent times were police officers. Do you agree with that assessment?
Thank you for having us, Butabo, and also greetings to the viewers back at home. The sad reality, Butabo, is that the report, as it is stipulating, it is true. Police officers are traumatized, and majority of them, it is due to police station attacks that are ongoing. Police officers, they find themselves faced with dangerous situations when they are on the streets fighting crime, and we see majority of them, they keep on losing their lives. And even the criminals, they do not end there. They even come to police stations where police officers are stationed, and they are there to fetch firearms. They are there to rob police stations. They are there for the ammunition and to terrorize our members even further. It is a sad reality that our members are faced with, that in the morning when one is fastening their boots, whether they are going for day shift in the morning or for night shift, they are really finding themselves being scared because of the sketch that we have seen. 13 police stations from that period that you just mentioned, Butabo, it is out of order. We had the recent one at Kwaggafontein in Mpumalanga, which left so many of our members traumatized. And the sad reality there is that when management came after that police station attack, they then treated all of those members who were on duty as suspects. Some of them were choked. All of them, they were traumatized even further. They were given instructions by the provincial commissioner to go and look for those firearms. Instead of organizing for employee health and wellness, instead of ensuring that they get the necessary assistance, they were then treated as suspects. That is the reality that is there. And as an organization, we have taken steps against such a situation because it cannot be business as usual. We wrote letters, unfortunately, to the National Commissioner concerning that issue. 4 letters we have directed to him. There was no response. And this week Friday actually, a day before yesterday, we have escalated the matter to the attention of the police minister, hoping that he will come up with something. But it is true, our members are traumatized. They are clearly faced with those dangerous situations day in and day out.
What's a unique attribute that is driving the situation in South Africa in particular that makes our situation? You know, one looks at it and says, we normally go to you, the police, to feel protected. Now, if you are not feeling protected in the police stations themselves, where do we go as normal citizens to feel protected? So what is so unique about the South African experience that is making this matter so worse?
Let us take an example, the issue of safety in the country, the crime stats themselves. You have seen that the issue of murder, even those violent crimes where the use of firearm they are so prevalent. The crime statistics released by the minister each quarter, they suggest that to us. And we know South Africa in its nature, it is a violent country informed by the history that we have as a country. After everything was done, when we moved into the democratic dispensation, there was no issue of debriefing that was done as a country. And further to that, when you look, Butabo, in the South African National Defence Force, if you go to any base, it is clear you will see that the soldiers themselves, when you get into wherever they are based, they are there guarding. They are making sure that they are executing those guarding duties. And now in the South African Police Services, we used to have previously guards, where we would have police officers guarding police stations. One would be standing at the gate, and or even more of them be standing at the gate, having that shotgun and ensuring that access control, it is being controlled into the police station. And as we look currently, because of the main issue, the main thing that is contributing to this challenge that we are having, it is the lack of manpower, whereby the South African Police Services have since moved away from the principle of access control into the police stations. Yes, we understand that police stations are supposed to be a safe haven, as you have alluded to that fact, Butabo. It is true. Yet, the lack of access control, it is what it is also contributing into the attack of police stations. Because these criminals, when they come, they don't come there with guns blazing. They come and they act as if they are there to write an affidavit or to open a case or something, just to go and assess. And they know that because of police stations at night, they get to be having less police officers because of the shortage of manpower, which is a crisis that we are having. And when they see that there's only 2 or 3 police officers in that police station, then they find it prone to attack that police station, because then they will be coming in numbers, or some they even call their friends to come and join in, as it has happened in the case of Kwaggafontein, which is the latest one that we are referring to, because 2 men came in and then they called others. So it is that also, but also the issue of load shedding, which contributes to Butabo. Our police stations do not have generators, and majority of them do not have generators. That is why we see the issue of all police stations should all have solar power systems, so that even if our communities may experience load shedding, at least in those police stations, they happen to have power, so that whatever that is coming closer there, you could be able to see what is happening. But we need to go back to the basics in terms of reintroducing guard duties. But they cannot be reintroduced if we do not have manpower within the South African police services. So we need to start to address the issue of manpower with Tabo.
So as a matter of urgency, guard duties being put in place, but there is also questions around the fact that it is in some instances the police themselves who are accomplice to those who are robbing the police stations. How do we address that particular issue?
Everywhere, we always make this demonstration that if you buy a bag of potatoes and you find 1 or 2 that happens to be rotten, you don't throw the whole bag, or you don't throw the baby with the bathtub, but you address those ones and you still continue with the good potatoes that you are having. Where there are criminal elements, where police officers, they collude with criminals, if it gets to be proven that that is true, management should take tough stand against those employees. But it is not the majority of these police station attacks, where we would say that it is those rotten elements that are responsible for it. Here it is pure criminality, where criminals, they come into police stations because they know that they will find ammunition. They know they will find those firearms that they will use and go and terrorize our communities out there. And if you have seen the modus operandi, if we remember at Malamulele police station in Limpopo when it was attacked, and also in Kwaggafontein, the filling stations nearby the police station, right after the police station attack, then they get to be robbed because they are able to utilize the instrument, the weapons that they robbed from the police stations. So we need to deal with those criminal elements that are there, but majority, it is just pure criminality that leave our members who are genuine, who are sacrificing with their lives to secure yourselves and even us wherever we are at home, Butabo.
So then that brings us to the other question. If the weapons that are being kept as stations are being kept properly, and is there something that needs to be done around the security upgrades that need to be put in place in where these weapons are being kept?
Butabo, weapons are kept secured. They are kept in secured places. We cannot just disclose where they are being kept. We do not have any doubt of where and the nature and how the weapons are being kept in police stations. We are definitely sure because we are aware of how those weapons are being kept within police stations. What needs to be dealt with is to address the issue of access control, more especially at night, in order to ensure that whoever comes into the police station, there is somebody whom they have to go through. And you can only be able to do that when you have enough manpower. And by having enough manpower in the police station, even if anyone can come in and see that there is a lot of police stations, that there's a lot of police officers in that specific police station at that time when those criminals are trying, they are wanting to try to rob that police station. They will not do so because they know they will be overpowered. They will not be able to succeed. But where you find that there's 2 police officers or there is 4 police officers who are in a police station at night and you've got 2 outside who are working in a van, then police stations become prone to be attacked. So we need to deal with the issue of manpower. We need to reintroduce the issue of access control into police stations where when community members come, there is that procedure that is being followed in order to protect our police stations and also even our police officers who happen to be traumatized by such acts of police station attacks, which are unacceptable within the democratic society in South Africa.
And finally, another area that needs to be explored, I suppose, Lesiba, is the area of prosecution. Yes, robberies are being reported in their numbers, firearms being taken in their numbers, rounds being stolen in their numbers. In some instances, suspects are arrested. For example, in a parliamentary question in September last year, 24 suspects were reported to have been arrested with robberies, but none had been successfully prosecuted. So there is something that's lacking then in how these cases are being handled.
We believe that there needs to be a strengthening of the relationship of whatever that is happening in terms of processes between the SAPs, because SAPs, their duty is to arrest, it is to investigate and ensure that those who are alleged to have committed such offences are put behind bars. But then now the NPA comes in as well to make sure that they prosecute, and that is done through the evidence that is being presented, and the judiciary. Clearly, they will also play their role. So the strengthening of the 3 entities or the 3 departments, it is very critical in order to ensure successful prosecutions at the end of the day, in order to find one guilty, because we don't believe that, it is always where police officers would go and arrest somebody to present before court if there is no evidence that is strong suggesting that they are indeed having to face a case that they have to answer. So the relationship between the 3 needs to be strengthened. If there is any loopholes, they need to be dealt with so that those who indeed are responsible for any criminal activities, including robberies, and also we are sending a strong message to say those who are responsible for robbing police stations, they should also be treated like those who have killed police officers, because a police station, it is a place where community members are supposed to see it as a safe haven. So police stations, they belong to the state. They need to be protected at all times. So they must face harsher sentences because they would have also committed treason against the state, for police stations are of the state.
Lesiba, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on. Lesiba Thobakgale speaks for the South African Policing Union there on the matters of intervention, particularly when it comes to safety and security of our police stations. Speaking of safety